I supported my fiancée through her career only for her to leave me once she got a promotion. Now 6 months later, she's asking me to take her back after she got fired. I 32M met Sarah 30F at my best friend Mike's housewarming party 5 years ago. She was standing by the window, nursing a glass of wine and looking slightly out of place. Later, she told me she'd only come because her roommate dragged her there. I was by the snack table, trying to save what remained of the guacamole from Mike's overzealous mixing. He always adds too much lime. Our eyes met across the room, and she smiled in a way that made my heart skip a beat. We ended up talking for hours that night, long after most guests had left. She was working as a junior account manager at a marketing firm, making decent money but not what she dreamed of. I was already established in my career as a software engineer, working remotely for a tech company. We bonded over our shared love of true crime podcasts, our mutual hatred of cilantro, and our ambitious dreams for the future. The first few months were like a dream. We'd spend weekends exploring hidden gems in the city, trying out hole-in-the-wall restaurants, and talking about everything and nothing. Sarah had this infectious enthusiasm about her career goals. She wanted to revolutionize how companies approach digital marketing, and I found myself completely invested in her vision. After a year of dating, we decided to move in together. It made sense financially, and honestly, we were already spending every night at each other's places anyway. We found a cozy 2-bedroom apartment with a small balcony where we set up a herb garden. Sarah joked that it was our first baby, we had to nurture it together. The first 3 years were amazing. We had our routines, Sunday morning brunches where we'd plan our week, Wednesday night movie marathons, and Friday evening walks in the park. Sarah was everything I wanted in a partner, supportive, loving, and we made a great team. She was working hard to climb the corporate ladder, often putting in 60-hour weeks. I picked up most of the household responsibilities, cooked nearly every meal, and made sure she had time to focus on her career. I still remember the night I decided to propose. Sarah had just failed her second attempt at getting promoted, and she was devastated. She came home in tears, mascara running down her face. Instead of letting it defeat her, she sat at our dining table until 3 a.m., reviewing her presentation, making notes on what she could improve. I stayed up with her, making coffee and offering suggestions. Her determination, her resilience, it made me fall in love with her all over again. I proposed 6 months later, on our 3rd anniversary. I'd planned an elaborate rooftop dinner, but it rained heavily that day. Instead, we ended up having a picnic on our living room floor, surrounded by candles because the power went out. When I pulled out the ring, a vintage sapphire piece she'd once admired in an antique shop window, she burst into happy tears. It wasn't the perfect proposal I'd planned, but it was perfectly us. When the pandemic hit, things got even more intense. We were both working from home, and our 2-bedroom apartment suddenly felt very small. I converted the guest room into a home office for her, spending weekends setting up the perfect workspace. I watched her throw herself completely into work, often skipping meals unless I brought them to her desk. I supported her through 3 failed promotion attempts, each time picking up the pieces and encouraging her to keep going. The pandemic was hard on everyone, but we seemed to be thriving. We started new traditions, virtual wine tastings with friends, cooking challenges where we'd try to recreate restaurant dishes, morning yoga sessions on the balcony. Sarah's career became our joint project. I helped her practice for presentations, spent countless nights reviewing her reports, and was essentially her unpaid career coach. I didn't mind, I believed in her completely. Looking back, maybe I should have seen the signs. She started staying later at the office once things reopened. Our Friday walks became less frequent, then stopped altogether. She was constantly on her phone during our movie nights, responding to urgent work emails. But I made excuses for her behavior, telling myself it was just temporary, that once she achieved her goals, things would calm down. Last year, everything changed. She finally got the promotion she'd been chasing, Senior Director of Marketing, with a salary that was actually higher than mine. I was over the moon for her. We celebrated, opened an expensive bottle of wine I'd been saving, and I thought this would be the start of our next chapter together. I even started looking at houses in the suburbs, thinking maybe it was time to start planning for a family. 2 weeks later, she sat me down for a talk. I thought maybe she'd found out about the house hunting and was going to tell me it was too soon. I wish that had been it. I think I need some space to focus on myself, she said, twisting the engagement ring I'd given her. This promotion is a huge opportunity, and I need to give it my all. I can't be focused on wedding planning right now. I was blindsided. I told her we could postpone the wedding, that I'd support whatever timeline worked for her career. But that wasn't what she wanted. She said she'd been doing a lot of thinking and felt like she'd outgrown our relationship. That she needed to be with someone who matched her new professional level. Those words felt like a physical blow. 5 years of memories, of building a life together, reduced to a question of professional status. I asked her if there was someone else. She hesitated just long enough for me to know the answer, even though she denied it. She moved out the next weekend while I was at my parents' house. I couldn't bear to watch her pack up her life from mine. When I returned, half our photos were gone from the walls, leaving behind sun-bleached rectangles that mocked me daily. She'd taken her favorite coffee mug, her books, her clothes, but left behind random items that felt like twisting knives, her favorite blanket that still smelled like her perfume, a drawer full of half-used makeup products, a pair of slippers under the bed. I later found out through mutual friends that she started dating one of the senior VPs at her company almost immediately. Someone who could understand her new lifestyle, as she put it to our friends. He drove a Tesla, owned a penthouse downtown, and apparently took her to Paris for a business trip within a month of them getting together. The next few months were a blur of grief and anger. I threw myself into therapy, finally confronting issues I'd been avoiding. Started hitting the gym regularly, picked up rock climbing, reconnected with old friends I'd neglected while caring for her career. My therapist helped me see how I'd lost myself in supporting Sarah, how I'd made her dreams my entire world. Slowly, I started to feel like myself again. I redecorated the apartment, replacing our old furniture with pieces I chose myself. Started cooking new recipes instead of her favorites. Adopted a cat from the local shelter, something Sarah had always been against because she was mildly allergic. Then, last week, I got a text from her, "Can we talk? I miss you." Those 4 words sent me spinning back into emotional chaos. After 3 days of internal debate and 2 emergency sessions with my therapist, I agreed to meet her for coffee, more out of curiosity than anything else. She looked different, tired, less polished than I remembered. The designer clothes she'd started wearing after her promotion were replaced with a simple sweater and jeans that reminded me of the Sarah I first met. Over an awkward cappuccino, she told me everything had fallen apart. The company had discovered her relationship with the VP violated their fraternization policy. Both of them were fired. The VP, it turned out, was married and had gone back to his wife, leaving Sarah with nothing. No job, no relationship, and according to her, no one who really understands me like you do. She started crying in the coffee shop, mascara running just like that night years ago when she'd failed to get promoted. But this time, I didn't feel the urge to comfort her. She talked about how she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. How she'd let ambition blind her to what really mattered. How she missed our Sunday brunches, our movie nights, the little herb garden we'd grown together. "I still have some of the basil we grew," she said, her voice breaking. "I've been trying to keep it alive, but it's not doing well. You always had the green thumb." I sat there, listening to her sob, and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction at her downfall, no desire to comfort her. Just emptiness where my love for her used to be. She kept talking, telling me how her new apartment feels soulless, how she can't sleep without the sound of my breathing beside her, how she misses the cat videos I used to send her during work hours. I told her I needed time to think about it. She's been texting me daily since then, sending long messages about how she's changed and realized what's truly important in life. Last night, she sent me a photo of her wearing the engagement ring she never returned, saying she hasn't taken it off since she left. My friends are divided. Mike, who introduced us, says I should tell her to kick rocks. "She traded you in for an upgrade that turned out to be a lemon," he said over beers last night. "Don't be her backup plan." But Anna, my sister, thinks people can change. She reminds me that Sarah was my first real love, that we had something special before ambition got in the way. "Everyone makes mistakes," she said. "The question is whether you can forgive her for hers." The truth is, a small part of me still loves the person I thought she was. The woman who would dance with me in the kitchen while making pancakes, who knew exactly how to comfort me when I had a bad day at work, who shared my dreams of traveling the world together. But that woman feels like a character in a story now, replaced by someone I barely recognize. I find myself thinking about the little things that used to make up our life together. The way she'd always steal my hoodies but deny it. Her terrible singing in the shower. The secret handshake we made up one drunk night and somehow never forgot. But then I remember how easily she discarded all of that when something shinier came along. Yesterday, I found an old notebook while cleaning. In it, Sarah had written out her 5-year plan back when we first moved in together. One line caught my eye: marry my best friend and start our adventure together. I wonder when that dream changed for her, when I stopped being enough. I'm supposed to meet her again tomorrow. She wants to properly talk about our future. But I'm not sure there is a future for us anymore. How do you rebuild trust after it's been so thoroughly broken? How do you look at someone the same way when you've seen how easily they can walk away? The logical part of my brain says to run far away, that someone who could hurt me so deeply once wouldn't hesitate to do it again. But my heart still skips a beat when I see her name pop up on my phone, and I hate myself a little for that. My cat just jumped into my lap as I'm writing this, purring and demanding attention. She's been my constant companion through the darkness of the past 6 months, and somehow her simple, unconditional love makes this decision feel clearer. Sarah left when things were good, when I had given her everything I had. Now she wants to come back when things are bad, when she has nowhere else to go. Don't I deserve someone who stays through both? Edit. Thank you all for the overwhelming response. Reading through your comments has been both heartbreaking and healing. So many of you have shared similar stories, and it helps to know I'm not alone in this. Update: I met with Sarah today. Our coffee shop was closed, so we ended up walking through the park where we used to have our Friday evening strolls. It felt different now, the paths seemed narrower, the trees older, or maybe it was just us who had changed. I told her that while I forgive her, mostly for my own peace of mind, I can't resume our relationship. The trust is broken, and I deserve someone who chooses me first, not as a backup plan. She cried, of course. Told me she'd do anything to prove she's changed. Asked if we could try therapy together. But as she talked, I noticed something. She spoke a lot about how hard things have been for her, how much she's suffered, how she needs me. Not once did she ask about my pain, my journey, my healing. Even now, it was all about her. I asked for the ring back. She was wearing it on a chain around her neck. It took her several minutes to unclasp it, her hands shaking. As she placed it in my palm, she whispered, "I'll wait for you." I didn't respond. Some silences say everything. Final update: it's been a week, and I've blocked Sarah on everything after she showed up drunk at my apartment last night. Standing there in the hallway, mascara running down her face, she looked so much like the woman I fell in love with that for a moment, I almost wavered. But then she started talking about how I was being selfish, how I owed her another chance, and the illusion shattered. I'm starting to realize that loving someone doesn't mean you have to keep them in your life. Sometimes love means letting go, not just of the person, but of the future you thought you'd have with them. The ring is at the bottom of my sock drawer now. Maybe someday I'll sell it, but for now, it's a reminder. Not of what I lost, but of what I refuse to settle for again. It's been a little over a month since I last posted an update, and a lot has happened. After Sarah showed up drunk at my apartment that night, I knew I had to cut ties completely. She kept calling and texting, sending long messages about how much she needed me, how she'd do anything to make it work. But I couldn't get past the feeling that I was her safety net, the person she ran to when all her other options failed. I finally blocked her on everything: phone, email, social media. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I knew it was necessary for my own healing. The first few days were rough. I'd hear a notification sound and my heart would leap, only to plummet when I remembered I'd shut her out. I caught myself reaching for my phone to respond to her messages more times than I'd like to admit. My therapist told me that was normal, that the pull of an old, intense connection like ours doesn't just disappear overnight. She encouraged me to be patient and gentle with myself, to celebrate the small victories like making it through an entire day without checking for messages from Sarah. Slowly, the urge to reach out faded. I threw myself into work, taking on new projects that challenged me and kept my mind occupied. I started dating again, going on a few casual dates here and there, but nothing serious. A part of me still felt guarded, unwilling to risk that level of vulnerability again. Then, about 3 weeks ago, I got an unexpected call. It was Anna, my sister. She told me that Sarah had shown up at her doorstep, disheveled and distraught. Apparently, she'd been fired from her new job after just a few months. The company had discovered the circumstances around her previous termination and decided she was too much of a liability. She begged me to tell you she's sorry, that she realizes now how much she took you for granted, Anna said, her voice laced with pity. I told her that's not my place, that you need to heal on your own time. I wasn't surprised, to be honest. In a twisted way, I almost felt vindicated. Sarah had chased her ambition at the expense of our relationship, and now it had come back to haunt her. But the news didn't fill me with the satisfaction I might have expected. Instead, I just felt tired of the drama, tired of the games, tired of trying to make sense of it all. Anna said Sarah was staying with her parents for now, trying to get her life back on track. Part of me wanted to feel bad for her, to remember the woman I fell in love with all those years ago. But the deeper, wiser part of me knew that wasn't my burden to carry anymore. I'd spent too long trying to prop Sarah up, to be the rock she could lean on. This time, she had to figure it out on her own. The ring is still tucked away in my sock drawer, a relic of a past I'm not sure I'll ever fully let go of. But whenever I catch myself thinking about Sarah, about what could have been, I look at the cat curled up on my bed and remember how far I've come. She's been my constant companion, my furry cheerleader through all of this. Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I take the ring out and hold it in my palm. I think about the hopes and dreams I had for our future, the life we were supposed to build together. And then I put it back, knowing that those dreams died the day Sarah walked out the door. I'm learning that love isn't always enough. Trust, respect, and the security of knowing you're someone's first choice, those things matter just as much, if not more. I deserve to be with someone who chooses me, who stays through the good and the bad. Someone who sees my worth, not just as a stepping stone to their own success. So I'm focusing on myself now, on rediscovering the person I was before Sarah came into my life. I've taken up new hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and even started thinking about moving to a new city, somewhere with a fresh start. The future feels full of possibility again, no longer tethered to the weight of what I've lost. Who knows, maybe one day I'll find someone new, someone who can truly appreciate all that I have to offer. But for now, I'm content with my own company, with the love of my furry roommate, and the knowledge that I'm enough, just as I am. To anyone else out there going through something similar, hold tight. The pain won't last forever, I promise. You'll get through this, and you'll be stronger for it. And remember, you deserve someone who fights for you, not just when it's convenient, but always.